Abigail is a vampire movie that doesn't suck. In fact, it sparkles in all the right ways. Ladies and gentlemen and others, welcome to my channel. Don't worry, I won't be spoiling things beyond what you've seen in the trailer. I had a bloody good time watching this movie, and why wouldn't I? It had a killer concept and probably the easiest logline ever. Bad guys kidnap a little girl, but the joke's on them, because the little girl is a vampire. While that same concept probably made it as easy as pie for the studio to put money behind financing the movie, it also probably forced the marketing team to spoil the premise in the trailer. So in the trailer we obviously see all of this, the little girl being kidnapped, and then the reveal of her being a vampire. But believe me, it was the only way to get people to see this movie.
People are retarded.
There's a lot more going on under the surface because execution on this is flawless. It takes the concept and delivers a wild ride with plenty of gore and action, but also being a thoroughly engaging movie with great characters and a surprisingly touching ending. Abigail was directed by Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillett from a screenplay written by Stephen Shields and Guy Busick. Together, Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillett are known as Radio Silence. Previously, Radio Silence directed Ready or Not, which is one of my favorite movies, and if you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend that as well. They're probably better known for having directed Scream 5 and Scream 6, both movies which received critical acclaim. Just like Ready or Not, Abigail also has very textured visuals, a great story, and super talented cast. There isn't one bad performance on screen. Every actor brings their A-game, and they really had to. Because Alicia Weir, the actor who plays Abigail, is an absolute revelation. She owns every scene that she's in with an incredible performance that completely blew me away. Creepy kids are undeniably a movie trope at this point. Children in general are a blank slate that society ascribes all kinds of meaning to. Society wants to view them as intrinsically innocent and pure, so in movies where they are shown as evil, creepy, and or filled with malicious intent, we as an audience are immediately unsettled by this upending of the status quo. Having said that, the role of Abigail still had to be filled with an incredible actor, otherwise it simply wouldn't have worked. Vampires, of course, are immortal, so even though Abigail presents as a little girl, she's actually a creature that's been around for hundreds of years, trapped in the form of a little girl. A creature like that would be capable of the most perverse, horrific and cruel acts, and is so far removed from society's morality scales that the concept of good or evil would not even be a consideration. Alicia Weir had to be more than just scary in the role of Abigail, though. She had to also pretend to be just a scared little girl that was kidnapped by bad people. And we have these scenes where she changes from scared little girl into vampire in an instant, and this sudden change from sweet and innocent to malicious to evil is incredibly jarring and a testament to her great acting. Abigail plays the victim to perfection, playing into the role of a terrified kidnapped child as long as it suits her, before exposing the monster within. Alicia Weir is exceptional. She goes through a range of emotions that make us as an audience sympathize and connect with her, despite the fact that the trailer completely spoiled the truth of what she actually is. She not only has to portray a thoroughly malevolent creature, but she also has to show that creature having absolute fun as she goes about stalking, hunting and killing all the victims within the house that they're trapped in. This movie has to walk a bit of a tightrope because it has to make the audience have sympathy for multiple devils. And there are no clear good guys and bad guys in the story. Remember that the potential vampire victims all sign on to kidnap and possibly terrorize a little girl. You kind of have to wonder, what kind of evil person would kidnap a child? At the same time, we also don't want a bunch of faceless victims that the audience doesn't give a shit about. So the directors had to make sure that we cared about these characters, even just at the level of understanding what their background was and where they came from. If the movie failed to make us care for Abigail first and foremost, she would be just another soulless monster. And if they didn't make us connect a little bit with the kidnappers, then why would we give a shit once the killing started? The storytellers did this through some very effective short scenes. The rule is quickly established that no real names and no personal information is to be exchanged, and that none of them had met before that night. This is then cleverly used to instigate a bit of a guessing game about all of the kidnappers' backstories to fill us in. There are also a few quick scenes between one of the kidnappers, Joey, and Abigail to establish a bit of a rapport between the two of them and to hint at a pseudo-parental relationship. Joey is played by Melissa Barrera, and she is the protagonist that the audience is supposed to sympathize most with. Alicia Weir as Abigail is the obvious standout, but the rest of the cast know exactly what kind of a movie they are in, and everyone gives it their all. Melissa Barrera, the Joey actress, is thoroughly believable as a good person who has just suffered a lot of hard knocks in life and through very bad choices ended up where she was. Dan Stevens plays Frank and is absolutely great at playing a huge piece of shit scumbag. Catherine Newton as Sammy is as delightful and fun and charming as she's been in other roles such as Lisa Frankenstein. And Kevin Durant as Peter is chef's kiss perfect at portraying the dumb muscle in an affable and a likable way. Having said that, none of these characters are one-dimensional. There's a lot more to them that gets revealed when the stakes go a little bit higher. There's a lot of blood and gore in this movie, but it sensibly ramps up as it goes along. We don't even see the first instances of bloody violence. We only see the aftermath. But as it goes along, copious amounts of blood, body parts, and viscera fill the scenes. And it's glorious. It's a pretty smart and self-aware story with characters acknowledging how crazy it is that they are stuck in a locked house with a psychopathic vampire, a creature that they only knew from fiction. It's a fun wink at the audience because up to a certain point, vampire lore was very much cast in stone until Twilight came along. So this does lead to a very fun and interesting conversation about exactly how does one go about killing a vampire. This isn't a movie that depends on jump scares. Instead, it builds the tension smartly and doesn't let scenes linger longer than they have to. But having said that, there's at least one scene that completely caught me off guard and made me jump in my seat. Horror movies seem to be making a bit of a comeback, and this is a good example of how much one can achieve with good cinematography, great acting, a couple of buckets of blood and gore, and a decent story. And all of this delivered at a decent budget as well. Throwing unnecessary millions at a movie just because you have it is not going to make that movie any better. Maybe instead of that, try to focus on telling a good story.
What the fuck is wrong with you? You fucking animal, you piece of shit, little tiny dick licker fucking asshole fucking eye. Fucking rich people.
Is this an all-time great unmissable movie? No, not necessarily, but it is very entertaining, it's very fun, and it's definitely worth your time and worth seeing it at the cinema. Especially seeing it with an audience just for the crowd reaction should be a bloody good time. Anyway, thanks very much for being here. I'll catch you on the next one.
Bye, Felicia.
Y'all stench.